Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Starcastic Remarks. Thank you for joining us today on our next edition of Stars Fan Stories. We have a very special edition of this series here today because, as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, you can if you're on the audio side, but if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that there's three of them here. We have Eden, Levi, and Isaac, and all three of them hail from Australia. So, and Levi and Isaac are especially big Dallas Stars fans, and Eden was gracious enough to allow them to come on to the show and just kind of say hi for a split second. So, hey, so Levi, how are you doing, bud?
I'm doing well.
Isaac, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, you're doing good. And then Eden, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm really good.
Yep. Well, at the time we're recording this, it is 12 o'clock their time. It is 9 o'clock my time. So it is a big time change here.
It's 12 o'clock p.m. Tuesday as well. So we are living in the future.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly true. Technically, it is still Monday where I'm at. So, but anyways, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. This allows people to kind of learn stories about Stars fans because y'all are from Australia, and I actually talked to somebody today who was from Finland. I've talked to people from Texas, from Ohio, like all over the world. It's been really fun getting to learn this series and everything. So, but I notice Levi, Isaac, you guys both have kind of like some stuffies there with you. Levi, can you tell me what the name of your stuffy is?
I named it Jake because it's an otter and it makes sense because my favorite player is Jake Oettinger. It makes sense to name an otter Jake because
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's even got the jersey number there too. That's awesome.
Yeah. But the best part is, where did we buy these?
Where would you buy these?
We bought them we bought these in Canada, didn't we? At Capilano.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Stuffies, and we named them after the Dallas hockey team.
That's awesome. And then Isaac, I see you've got one too. I have no idea what yours could possibly be named.
What's that?
Miko.
Miko, that's right.
Miko Ranton's nickname is Moose.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, so do you guys? So I'm assuming that Levi, that Jake Oettinger is your favorite hockey player.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry about that light there, by the way.
Oh, it's okay. And then Isaac, your favorite hockey player is Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah, but I'm not wearing the jersey number because they should have sold out because he's the best player you'll ever see.
He is the best player you'll ever see. And then what number do you have on your jersey there?
Wyatt Johnston, 53.
Wyatt Johnston. That's my favorite player right now. He's been a big favorite of mine for a while. So
he's one of my favorites as well.
Yep. And then what kind of jerseys are y'all wearing? That's not the normal jerseys. What are those called?
What do you guys call them?
The Skyline jerseys.
The Skyline jersey. That's right. I affectionately refer to them as the blackout jerseys. I love the idea of blackout.
Name, but the boys call them Skyline. Because what I called them.
Yeah, they're very cool. Well, Levi, Isaac, thank you guys so much for being here. I love the fact that you guys are such huge fans of the podcast, and I knew that when your mama, when Eden kind of filled out that form, I was just like, I have to have Levi and Isaac on too in order to make this right. So thank you guys for coming on. Okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye. Well, I will definitely see you guys again very soon. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, Aiden. Thank you so much for letting them come on. Like the first time I heard on I guess it used to be Twitter. I guess it might have been Twitter back then, or Twitter X, whatever it was. But you posted a video of the two of them watching me, Chris, and James, and that just like that it didn't break my heart. That was not the right term, but it like, you know, it made me feel really cool. Like the fact that, you know, that there's you guys watch as a family and you guys listen as a family to the show. That's just really cool. So again, thank you for letting them be on. But I gotta ask. Obviously, their fandom of the Stars is, I would guess, second to none compared to a lot of other people's. But it obviously comes from you, right? So I gotta ask. So how did the whole why Dallas?
Well, it's the bubble playoffs, really. So I lived in North America for about 5 years in the late noughties, early teens, and so I vaguely knew about hockey. Like, I remember I used to work on cruise ships, and I remember being in the audience and them announcing that the Penguins had won the Stanley Cup in 09 on the stage that night. I remember being there in 010 and watching the hockey for the Olympics, but I didn't have a team. My partner, their dad is Canadian. His family's from BC, so his family's team is the Canucks, but I didn't follow them. And then in 2020, here in Australia, we had a really strict lockdown in the middle of 2020 for COVID, and it was the middle of winter. It was dead winter. It was really cold, and so I paid extra to get the sports streaming channels, and they were showing the bubble playoffs. And the first game I saw was against Calgary, and Dallas won, and Matthew Tkachuk was going off in a box, going nuts because Dallas was beating his team. And I was just like, oh, this team's kind of cool. They weren't supposed to win, and they did. And then I watched a few more games because they were like the little team that could. And then over the next couple of seasons, I watched bits and pieces. And then that playoff against Calgary when Otto went nuts and stood on his head and what was it, 64 saves, 65 saves, whatever it was. I was completely in love and hooked. And that summer, well, your summer, our winter, was when the boys really started watching with me and we caught up on old games. And by the time the season rolled around, they were like hooked and couldn't wait to watch it. And that's why Levi loves Jake Oettinger.
That's awesome. I love the fact that Jake Oettinger is a big fan of yourself and your boys. So that's just really cool. And so that, how strict was it over there in Australia for the COVID restrictions?
So that winter, we went into the lockdown in, I think it was late June, early July. I can't remember. It was sort of just before they went into the bubble. So I should preface this by saying I am a nurse. I work in an emergency department. So I was being a lot more strict than even the regular people were because I was, that was what I was doing for a living. But we were no schools, no organized sport, staying at home all the time. At one point, we had a 5-kilometer radius. So I don't know what that is in miles. I can't convert to imperial off the top of my head, but we had a radius that you were supposed to stick to. At one point later that winter, I had to have a permit to go to work to be out because we had a curfew. So watching sport became something that I did to enjoy. And so, yeah, I started watching hockey.
I mean, that's funny you say that because that was kind of my escape a little bit when the bubble playoffs were going on. Me, Chris, and James, and our whole family, really, we would just argue in a group chat via text or Snapchat or whatever, and just no, Suter sucked that game, or or Ottinger should have had that saver, and we were doing that before the podcast ever existed, and I was bored out of my mind because I'm a teacher, and schools were closed for us here in the States as well. And I was just like, I gotta have something else to do. I'm going like cabin feverish crazy because of all of this. And that was kind of the birthplace of the podcast. And it ended up being the perfect time to start one because of the cup run and everything. But I can definitely relate to that in how restrictive all the COVID stuff was. And that's really interesting that was actually the birthplace of all of y'all's fandom being Stars fans. Because there's I don't want to say that everyone that I've talked to for this series has been a little bit, they've been like a decade plus Stars fans, but it's been mostly more that direction with how long people have been Stars fans. And it's awesome to see and hear stories of people who have not been Stars fans for as long compared to there was a gentleman I talked to from Finland. He's been a Stars fan for like 30 years because of just one random player. But again, that's just awesome. But let me ask you, because we got to ask your boys about who their favorite players were. Did you have a favorite player right now?
My favorite player is probably Wyatt Johnston.
Any
I also
specific moment that sticks into your head as to why he's your favorite, or is it just because he is who he is?
Well, it's because he is who he is, but also I think it's a little bit like being a mum. We always talked about our baby star. I used to always refer to him, oh, it's our baby star. He's just he just was so special, so young, and I love that. But I think also it was that summer that we really, really like absorb. We started to consume everything we could about hockey, or I did, and the kids ended up doing it by association. Was the summer that he made the team. And so I just remember watching that first game he played against Nashville with the boys, and he scored that goal. And it happened to fall, I think, during their school holidays. They were home anyway. They were home, and we watched it live. And they were like, "Mom, the baby scored! Our baby scored!" And he's just been my favorite.
That was one of the highlights I actually put in the playoff hype video for that playoff run that year. It was his. I was asking people like, okay, what highlight should I use for the hype video? And that was one of the first ones people were asking. And it was such a extreme angle too. It was like almost down by the red line, the goal line. So it was just nuts how he was able to score that. And I mean, we never knew what he was gonna do after that. We didn't expect him to go off like he did.
Yeah,
And now he is who he is. And just talking to him, I'll tell you, I really truly believe he's the next captain of this team. That's
yeah,
just what I believe.
yeah. I also love Thomas Harley, but that's more his on ice play. I love to watch him play.
So let me ask you this. Do you remember the first Stars game that you ever watched?
Well, I remember the first Stars game I consciously watched, which was that game against Calgary that they clinched that first round in the bubbles. But I've watched games, I'm pretty sure, Stars years and years back, like, because they were on. Because when I lived in North America, it was often just on, but I didn't follow it.
So how often how long did you live in North America?
5 years.
5 years, okay. And then that's when y'all moved out to Australia, correct?
So I met my partner while I was overseas, and then we moved back here.
Okay,
And
got you. Okay. Just
and
making sure I had that straight in my head.
yeah, no. So I met him when I was traveling, and he was also working and traveling. We met working on cruise ships.
That's right,
And
that's right. I remember you telling me that, yes.
then we came back to Australia. But I'm going to tell you the most hilarious thing is, so my husband, their dad, is Canadian, and he hates hockey.
That yeah, I remember you telling me that too, and it's just like that is like the oddest thing. Like that's like being a Texan and hating American football. Like that's just not a thing.
He often jokes that he left Canada to get away from hockey, and then he ended up with me.
Yeah, and that's the exact same thing that I tell my family. It was just like I was born in the wrong country. I should have been born in Canada.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
let me ask you about this. Do you have like a favorite Dallas Stars moment that you can remember that you can think about?
I'm trying not to let recency bias get in the way here.
It's hard.
It's a silly one. The game against the Blackhawks, was it 3 seasons ago when we were really down, and then we came back and won, and there's that shot of the guy, the Chicago fan in the crowd swearing. I love that. That one, I mean, you can't beat Mikko Rantanen's hat trick against Colorado. But again, recency bias. Yoel freaking Kiviranta in the
Yeah,
bubble.
that too.
Yeah. Um, I love all those sorts of things. And for me, it's also little things that aren't necessarily like the game on the ice. Like I will always remember with Mikko Rantanen trade, the news of that came out in the morning, my time, as you guys were all getting ready to go to bed. And I just was like the whole day, like, where's the news? Where's the news? Stay awake. Come on, someone tell me what's happening. And then I went to bed and then it broke like an hour later. And I was like, damn it. So fandom moments like that. But probably the really big one for me, that's a Stars moment for me, but not for anyone else, was the look on my kids' faces at their first game when the players came out and skated past them at the glass. And I have this video, and Isaac's just like got his hands over his mouth and his eyes are joyous, and they were just, it made every cent we spent on that trip worth it, and it was a lot of cents. Made everything we spent worth it, because the looks on their faces when they saw their favorite players skating past them. And I think that's one of the reasons I love the Stars so much, is my kids love the Stars so much, and I love sharing it with them.
So tell us about that trip a little bit, because I remember I'm probably gonna say it wrong. Y'all flew to Seattle, correct?
No, we flew
No.
to British Columbia, where my in-laws live, and we went to visit my husband's family, and then we got the train down to Seattle for the weekend, and
That's what it was. Okay.
we went to a few games down in Seattle, and it was actually such a wonderful weekend. We met so many Stars fans. Heaps of people were up from Texas for that game. I would argue probably 15% of the crowd, at least. It was a lot more than I expected. And we just had the most wonderful time. The arena in Seattle is amazing. If anyone ever gets the chance to go, I highly recommend it. It was just such a beautiful arena and such a great game experience. And their fans were so polite and lovely, and no one cared that we had the wrong jerseys on. And they were just grateful that we were in. There was this young girl at the warm-ups who was on the glass, and she stepped aside and let my kids go there. And she said, I remember what it's like to go to your first game. I've been to plenty. It's much more important that they go. And she was a Seattle fan. And she didn't care that we weren't Seattle fans. So, yeah, we did that trip, and we did the 2 games back to back, the Saturday and the Monday. And it was just getting to watch warm-ups through the glass at Climate Pledge and getting to chat to other fans. And Vic was there. Like, I never thought they'd get to meet the mascot unless we went to Dallas, but Vic was there and we got to meet the mascot. It was just so special and so exciting. It was the first ever NHL game that, the first ever proper NHL game they'd been to. There was a global series preseason game here a few years ago, but.
And that was at Rod Laver,
Yeah.
where they hold the Australian Open, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Kings and the now defunct Arizona Coyotes. So they went to that, but it was a very different experience to going to the Stars game. And yeah, I arranged the trip around the dates. So I waited till the schedule came out, and I picked dates where I knew that Dallas was either going to be in Vancouver or near Vancouver, so that I could take the boys to a Dallas game.
All right, so I'm kind of setting you up for this question, because you will already know the answer, but nobody else who's listening will. So, unfortunately, we have to share your fandom a little bit with another team, and obviously, because you're talking about Vancouver, it's got to be the
Vancouver Canucks.
Blah. No, I'm just kidding.
I have to. They're my in-laws' team, and so I support. We share that with the family, but Dallas is my team.
No, I completely understand. I'm just giving you a hard time for it. It's okay. But
not a lot of crossover. The owners hate each other, so we don't get a lot of crossover. So
yeah, I always find that weird, because I mean, Gillardi is. I mean, he's from Vancouver, right? Like, that's his home base, right?
But you know the story. He wanted to buy the Canucks, and Francisco Aquilini got them, and Gillardi sued him and tried to argue that he shouldn't have been able to buy them, and he lost, or something like that. Gillardi wanted to own the Canucks, and him and Francisco Aquilini have been like mortal enemies ever since it didn't happen. That's because Gillardi owns the Blazers. And that's another reason where the Stars fandom blends in as well, is their grandparents live in Kamloops.
Okay. All right.
And they're ticket holders for the Blazers. So, like, when we went to Canada, we went to a Blazers game. We got to ride the Zamboni on the ice at intermission, and we loved that. That was so much fun. But we have that connection with the family as well. So the family doesn't mind so much that we don't just cheer for the Canucks.
Okay, that makes some sense. I actually did not know that about Gillardi and Aquilini. I had no idea about that.
Like each other. It's the reason why, if you look back, I think the only trade of any significance between Vancouver and Dallas in like the last 8 years was Jamie Alexiak. Not Jamie Alexiak. No, it wasn't even that. That was Seattle, Eden. What are you talking about? There was like one. Oh, no, I don't think there's even been one.
Yeah, I can't think of one, to be honest with you. Well, not to take a hard left, but I'm going to take a hard left here for a second. But we talked about some of your favorite moments and some of the good moments.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot in my life because I have been a Stars fan for as long as they've existed. But have there been any like heart crushing moments? And they could be recent, they could be 2-3 seasons ago. Is there like a specific moment that like sticks out into your brain that was really soul crushing?
I'm bringing it back to my kids again because I always do. When we lost to Vegas in 2023, they were at school for that game 6, so they didn't know the result, and I went to pick him up from school, and every day he would come running up to me, "Did they win? Did they win?" And for so long I'd been able to say, "Yes, they did." And there's a video somewhere of when they beat Minnesota, and he was so excited, and he came up to me, "Did they win? Did they win?" And I said, "No." And he burst into tears in the schoolyard, and he was so upset,
Oh.
crying into my shoulder, and I was like, "Oh, I feel real. I'm a bad mum. What have I done? I've made him love this team." And so that's a silly one. That's a sad one. For me, it's the losses against, like, it's those heartbreaking losses. So the Tampa Bay in the cup run, in the bubble run, that was devastating. And then later on to see that footage of Jamie Benn was just devastating to me. And I actually think last year against Edmonton I found more painful than this year, because I felt like this year we were never really in it. Whereas last year against Edmonton, they got my hopes up, dang it. And then they crushed them. And also so you know how you probably maybe you feel about the Canucks, or maybe you feel about other Central Division teams. That's how I feel about the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah. I think you're on
I was
mute.
muted, sorry. I don't blame you one bit for feeling that way either, to
As a
be honest with you.
So the last 2 seasons, the Edmonton Oilers have ended my team's playoff run 3 times.
Ouch.
I don't like Edmonton at all.
Yep. Well, I completely agree with you in the fact that, for some reason this year did not hurt as much as last year. And maybe because you can say yes or no to this if you felt the same way, but I had that blog post I put up after game 4, and it was like a eulogy at that point. Like I was like, this series is over. Like it didn't matter if we were gonna win another game or not. When we went down 3-1, I was just like, we're done. Like
Yeah, they never looked after game 3 to me. Game 4 definitely, but even after game 3, they never looked like they were going to win to me.
yeah, I agree. And it, and you kind of alluded to the Jamie Benn being in the locker room in Edmonton and the bubble, and like the that as sad of an ending as that bubble run was, that is going to be one of the greatest moments in my life, and for a specific reason, because with how everything was going in the world at that point, and the world was basically ending, and it ended for a while before anything came back, and we were all stuck in our homes and not allowed to go anywhere or anything like that. And then they announced the bubble playoffs, and then the Stars go all the way to the Stanley Cup final. And I mean, there's never going to be another situation like that ever again. I don't, especially in our lifetime. At least I hope so. Keeping my fingers crossed, knocking on wood. Uh, but I mean, like there are so many moments in that run that are good, and as sad as that ended, like Joe Pavelski in Game 4 against the Flames, when he scored it to send it to overtime, and they ended up winning that game. Bless his heart, Denis Gurianov with a 4-goal game during that series as well. You've got, yeah, and you mentioned Yoel Kiviranta. I mean, like a guy that didn't play in Game 6. He's inserted into the game or into the series for Game 7. He wins the whole dang thing for the Stars and gets a hat trick. That's never happened in the history of the NHL like that. And it's also just the way they went about it. Like everything about that run was just perfect. And then don't even forget the heroics of Dobby. Like who could have seen Anton Hudobin, who at that point was in his mid to late 30s, and he goes on like one of the greatest runs we've ever seen from a Dallas Stars goaltender. As sad as that ended, that will live in my mind for the rest of my life. There will never be anything like it.
And it's a little bit the same for me because it was the joy of that run that made me fall in love with the sport so deeply. It was the great moments made me go, oh, this is amazing. This is fantastic. It was brought something good. And I am a Stars fan, absolutely, first and foremost, but that bubble run made me fall in love with hockey. And I just love to watch hockey. So, I'll always remember that fondly. But I don't think I appreciated Dobby for what he was back then because it was really my first knowledge. But now learning about who he was before that in retrospect, I just have an even greater respect and wow, that was actually something crazy to witness.
He should not have been able to do what he did, and he pulled it off.
But
That's the
you've been able to do what they did in that run, but they did it.
yeah. It's just absolutely crazy what they were able to pull off and everything like that. Well, let me ask you about this because at the time we're recording this, this episode will be released later, probably in August, actually, to be honest with you, Eden. But um, the time we're recording this is it's July 7th, so it's just after free agency,
Yep.
and I want to ask you just about where you think the team is at. So just as a recap, they just I guess they did rehire. They rehired a Glenn Gulletson to be their new head coach.
Mhm.
They have brought back Roddick Foxa, who was a part of that bubble run.
Yeah, no.
They have also traded away Mason Marchment, and for the most part, the team looks relatively the same. It really does. There were some rumors about trading Robertson and stuff like that, but I think at this point, with where the team's at, I think what we see is what we get.
Yeah.
And the general feeling around the team right now is that, at least from Stars fans, is that this team is going to take a step back.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, or do you still think that these guys can get it done in the Stanley Cup playoffs and make it all the way back to this? I don't make it all the way back. Make it to the Stanley Cup final with this new grouping of Stars players.
On paper as they are right now, I agree. I think that it's going to be hard to get over that hump, that get through that Western Conference final. It's hard to know what's going to happen over the year. You don't know what's going to happen at the trade deadline. You don't know what else is coming in. But I am a little bit, I shouldn't say baffled, but I'm a little bit confused by the Fuxery coming back. I mean, it's a better cap hit than he was on before, but I feel like there were other players you could have gotten that did a similar thing for less money. You've got a couple of them, Oscar back amongst people. Glenn Gulletson, I don't have as much of an opinion on, and I know that you guys, I listened to the podcast you did with your brothers, and I know that Chris particularly had some very, very firm opinions on it. I am more willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm agreeing with you in that after I watched the press conference, I felt a lot more positive, and I felt like I liked what he had to say and the way he approached it. I think that, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think it's been a very long time since he coached in Dallas. It's an incredibly different team. So I also think that a team like this, the coaching, a bad coach, like a poor choice of coach is not going to knock them out of the playoffs. They're too good for that. They're too good. I think the two things that are going to become problematic or cause problems for getting this team far this year are if they can't upgrade that decor, particularly the decor, but if they can't upgrade throughout the season or at the trade deadline. And also, I think the rest of the West is going to start becoming a problem, particularly the Central Division. Like I was listening to 32 Thoughts this morning, and actually I was watching the Hockey Guy video as well, and I was looking. There is realistically 6 teams in the Central that can make playoffs. Like you can't. The most you can have is 5, but there is probably going to be 6 playoff caliber teams in the Central. We are playing in the worst division for competition because everyone's really good. And then that's not even counting what might come out of the Pacific Division. And okay, maybe some of those teams aren't as strong, and I think a few of them are going to take a step back, but they're not nothing. You know, the floor in the West is so much higher than the floor in the East.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And you talked about the Pacific. I know that a lot of people are going to choose 5 teams to make it from the Central and 3 from the Pacific, but you can't. I mean, you can't take anybody out. Like for example, like the Ducks. I think everyone's undervaluing the Ducks right now. They have been extremely busy. I mean, they went out and they got Jacob Truba, who I know Bloods, bless him, Craig Ludwig, he loves the guy, but he ends up going to Anaheim. I mean, Chris Kreider joins him now in Anaheim, a one-time 50-goal scorer. He's not going to be that in Anaheim. But could he get to 30? He could. He could. But then you've got all of these other young guys that are there with Carlson, with Gauthier, with the Zellweger, Lacombe. There's a bunch of young guys that are there.
I watch Zellweger a lot because of the Kamloops Blazers. We watched their Memorial Cup run, and I saw a lot of Zellweger, and he is a great player. Like, they've got such a skilled young core, and people keep saying, oh, they're young, but they're not as young anymore. They're kind of like 22, 23, and they are primed to go off. And so, yeah, I think the Ducks are a sleeper in the Pacific. I think you're never going to get rid of the Oilers, unfortunately. I would like to think the Canucks will at least try for a wild card, but we'll wait and see.
That's a whole nother podcast right there. Just I understand it, and I also watch the Hockey Guys video, so I feel his pain. I feel his pain every time he does a 30-minute like Canucks video. So I fully understand that.
And then I'm not sure about the Kings. The Kings I don't know what they did at the trade deadline. They made choices with a capital C, that's for sure. But they might still be hanging around. And then you've got Vegas.
But at the same time, I know everyone is like, "Oh, shiny new toy and Mitch Marner," but like at the same time, like they lost their number 1 defenseman. He's not coming back. I think he's done with hockey. I know he left the door open, but and this is not me getting on to Petrangelo or anything like that, but the way that he sounded, it sounded like he left open that door like for the 10% chance that he's going to come back. But uh, that door is like 90% shut in my opinion, at least with the way that he was talking. So they've got other defensemen, but like
they've also got Noah Hannafin. He's not a slouch. Like they've got, Thomas Hertl, they've got Jack Eichel, and could you imagine Jack Eichel and Mitch Marner on a line together? Like,
and we have to see that 3 or 4 times this year.
Exactly. And that's why I feel like the Stars might take a step back this year, not because they are bad in themselves. I think their competition is going to be so much higher.
I fully agree with you, and that's just the salary cap doing its work and trying to keep parity in the league, unfortunately. So,
and the salary cap, yeah, but also the amount of players. Like, there's just not they're not moving. Players who are on good teams are not going anywhere.
That is true.
I mean, look at what like Florida was able to do. Like, and everyone's like, "Oh, no state tax." I'm like, that's not no state tax, because believe me, Dallas doesn't get deals that good.
Nope, not normally. But for the last half decade, I would argue they have, but that's because they've been a good team, and I mean, Florida has been a good team too.
Florida, they do not get enough credit for what they have built down there, for the culture that they have built down there. And Vegas is a little bit similar in some ways, in that the owner makes it a fantastic place to play. And that's what we have been so lucky about with Galati in Dallas is he really has put his hand in his pocket the last few years, and he has spent money. We've got top-notch practice facilities. We have, world-class trainers and medical staff, and they pay for the best of everything to make the players happy. And we're really lucky that we have that. There's some owners in the NHL that are not like that.
Yeah, I know how that was like back in the prime of my life when I was a older teenager when the Stars were bankrupt and owned by the NHL. Oh, I hated those years, man. And Glenn Gulletson almost took them to the playoffs with
Yeah.
with having no owner. So I'm willing to give him a chance.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we're already at 35 minutes. Let me ask you, let me ask you a couple of questions to wrap some things up. You kind of lose track of time when you're having fun. Uh, two questions. One is one I end with everybody, but for this one, this is a little bit of a different one. Because this is you're a relatively new fan, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Not a brand new, but
Is it max, like
yes,
more like 3 or 4.
right. So, what would you say to someone who's just now becoming a Stars fan?
That line that Starsman always uses, "We have fun here." They're a really fun team. They are a fun team to watch. They play a really exciting, interesting style of hockey. They have incredibly skilled players. They also don't have a lot of the drama that comes with being like an original six or a Canadian-based team. The media is generally positive when they bother to pay attention. It's a fun team. It's also a really fun fandom. Everyone's very kind. There's not a lot of there's almost no gatekeeping. I've really enjoyed the Stars fans I've made. I'm in a Facebook group with some Stars fans here in Australia. We've had a couple of meetups in Melbourne and watched finals together, watched playoff games together. Uri Koralik, he's recently moved here to Melbourne, and I chat with him, and all the Stars fans are just really nice. It's nice, fun team to be a fan of.
He is a great individual. You're right. I hope to one day get to meet him actually in person, and we've had him on the podcast I think like 2 or 3 times now. And again, yeah, I agree with you that there's something about the Stars fan community that it makes it feel a little bit different compared to other hockey fan bases, but also just being like a DFW fan, a Dallas Fort Worth fan. Like it's the only group that makes you feel included on stuff, even if you have no idea what the heck's going on, right?
Yeah.
And you talked about gatekeeping. Like I fully 100% agree with you on that.
No, I love being a Stars fan. Like all the Dallas fans that I met when we were in Seattle, like lots of people had come up for the weekend because I think it was the end of spring break or something from Texas, and everyone was just so friendly, and they couldn't believe that there were these Australians that were fans. And even little things like the team, they liked a couple of the photos I posted of the kids, and Vic jumping out of line to give my kids a hug because they were the only ones in the group. Like they're such an inclusive, they make you feel part of, they make the fans feel part of the team. It's not a we are the team and you will cheer for us. It's very much a we're all in this together thing, and that's what I love about them.
I had High School Musical running through my head when you said we're all in this. Oh my goodness, that shows you my age a little bit. Okay, last question for you, and this is the same one that I ask of everybody. So if you've seen Ryan's episode of Stars Fan Stories, you know what's coming. But imagine like the Stars are listening right now to this podcast, and whether it be like a single individual or the whole team or whoever, what would you want them to know? What would you want to say to them?
I just want to say to them, just thanks for being such a bright spot in my life and for giving me and my kids, something so fun to bond over and enjoy. And the joy that this team and this sport brings to my kids' lives. As a parent, you know that your child's happiness is incalculable. You can't put a price or anything on it. So I love them for being for the joy that they bring, and I love them for sticking to who they are. They, you know, Jim Nell, he doesn't make drastic moves. He doesn't change who he is. He runs on an even keel, and this team, you know, they know who they are and they embrace that, and I like that about them.
Yeah, I like that you said that too, because I agree with you. With Jim Nell made a really hard decision all of those years ago, right before the world shut down because of COVID, and he made the decision to fire the head coach that he thought was the right one for the job. And honestly, based off of what I see in St. Louis and what he did in Boston and taking them to the greatest regular season record of all time, Jim Montgomery, he fired Jim Montgomery for a character reason.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to put down Jim Montgomery or anything like that. He's been very forthcoming about what the issues were back then. But that was the first and foremost thing that Jim Nell cared about more than anything, is he cared about people. He wanted Monty to take care of himself, and Monty was not taking care of himself. So he's just like, all right, I'm going to remove the obstacle in your life that is not getting you any help, and I'm going to make you go get help. And to Monty's credit, he did. So that's that's a really great point. So, well, Eden, I feel like we could talk for another hour, but seriously, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing your children and your children's stories with us as well. I'm sure a lot of uh, parents, especially, are gonna connect to the stories that you were able to tell here today. And it's also just awesome to know that it's not just the DFW area. It's Canada, it's Finland, and it's all the way across the world, halfway across the world in Australia. So again, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with me tonight.
Thanks, Ryan. It's been lovely to chat.
Well, for the audience, thank you guys for listening here to this edition of Stars Fan Stories. We hope you guys come back again next week for the next edition of this. We're going to continue doing these throughout July and August as we get closer and closer to the 2025-2026 season. It honestly cannot get here fast enough. I want it to get here. Thank all of you for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please click like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Make sure that you hit it so you never miss an episode of ours. We're going live every Wednesday night, 9:15 Central Time for those in the DFW area, and that's 12:15 if you're in Australia. So, Eden, if you want to come, you can hit us up at, is that Thursday at 12 in the afternoon? And then, as always, thank you all of y'all for your support. We really truly appreciate everything that you guys do for us. So, along with Eden and along with Levi and Isaac, my name's Ryan. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Hope y'all have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are listening. Eden, can I get a Go Stars from you?
Go Stars.